Well, after days of repeatedly defending his claim that he saw thousands of Muslims cheering on 9/11 in New Jersey, Donald Trump avoided that topic at his rally last night. What's that about? Let's discuss it with our own Chris Cuomo, who joins us from Paris, and radio host Hugh Hewitt. Hewitt will be a panelist in CNN's Republican debate that is December 15th. Guys, great to see you. Hugh, I don't know if you just caught the interview that I just did with Rudy Giuliani, but we talked a lot about Trump. We talked a lot about Trump's relationship with the truth. And Rudy Giuliani's take on it was that basically Trump plays by different rules. Let me just play you a little clip, because I asked Rudy Giuliani, what would happen to you when you, Rudy Giuliani, were running for president if you had made some of the claims that Donald Trump had?
I'd have been thrown out of the race. He is judged by a different standard. Maybe it's because of his background on The Apprentice and an entertainer, and the fact that he's been a big personality. He almost like speaks in headlines, gets your attention, and then a lot of the points he makes are very substantive, but the headline turns out to be exaggerated.
So, Hugh, what do you think about that theory, that he's just judged by a different standard? Maybe it's because he's an entertainer.
I watched your interview with Rudy. It was a terrific interview, Allison. And when the mayor said that there were pockets of demonstrators on 9/11 that were celebrating, I thought Donald Trump has another data point that he's going to combine with the Fred Siegel column in the New York Post that made that point, and with the Washington Post contemporaneous report. And Donald Trump will love that interview. And I sat there thinking to myself, he is continuing to put together a Harvard Business School case study in building brand. Donald Trump is simply above this. And I wouldn't be surprised by anything that he does. I wouldn't be surprised if on the day after Christmas he exits the race, throws the ball to Ted Cruz, and has built the value of Trump Tower and every Trump property around the world tenfold by simply using the platform that media has given him. He is something of a marketing genius.
Chris, you've, of course, covered Donald Trump for years, as well as all politicians. What do you think about Rudy Giuliani's notion that Trump is just in a category of his own? He's held to a completely different standard.
I think Rudy's right, and he's entitled to his opinion. And certainly when people say things that are wrong, you don't get to choose your own facts. And that's the bottom line in this situation. I think it's frustrating from a media perspective. I don't know why it continues to get attention. He's wrong. There weren't thousands of people celebrating. Were people celebrating after 9/11? Yes. Is it wrong? Yes. Should you say thousands were? No. Why? Because it's inaccurate, and it feeds a perception of Muslim Americans that is dangerous. So he's just wrong, and he can say that he's not wrong all he wants, and many of his supporters will believe him because he has an unusual connection to his support, which I think does come from part of his popularity, and also part of it is what he is selling them, which is their own anger and reasons for solution of that anger. But in terms of how you cover him, look, Hugh does a great job of it when he has people on. So do you. You have to test him. So it's harder with Donald Trump. He is a better advocate for himself than most politicians are, but he's still wrong about this. And at the end of the day, wrong is wrong.
Hugh, you can hear Chris's frustration there that, this has had legs and this has gotten so much play in the media. Are we wrong in the media to play it again when he says a falsehood and when he says something that's demonstrably untrue? Do we let it go or do we highlight it?
I think you continue to do what you just did with Rudy Giuliani. And again, I think that may have been the best interview I've seen on the subject with the most authoritative voice on the controversy. And the mayor said there were not hundreds and hundreds and thousands of thousands. And Chris is right. There is no evidence to show that. There are anecdotal pieces of evidence of some demonstrations of celebration. That's where I would leave it. On December the 15th, and we have this debate in Las Vegas, and it's going to be an enormous audience again because Donald Trump generates enormous audience. Something else Rudy told you. All the Republicans should be thanking him for building this enormous audience, whether it's Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or Chris Christie or Jeb Bush or any of the other top-tier candidates, even the second-tier candidates, should all send Donald Trump chocolates for Christmas because he has created for them millions of eyeballs. And during that debate, if they point out that yesterday, for example, new emails showed up that make it abundantly clear that Mrs. Clinton lied during her testimony before the Benghazi committee about not receiving emails on her private server the night of Benghazi. Then they will have used the platform that Donald built for them. So I don't think anyone is upset with Donald. I don't think the media has done anything wrong. It is its own unique situation that will play itself out on Donald Trump's terms until voters start to vote.
Chris, what about that? The rising Trump tide lifts all Republican votes.
Well, that was an unusually clever weaving of a talking point by Hugh Hewitt into his answer there. It's very clever, especially for a Browns fan. But I have to say that he is right. Donald Trump is certainly a gift to the attention factor for this election. There's no question about it. He is good for the race. A lot of people won't like that. But you know what? People believe in what he's saying. He has a big basis of support. And to say he somehow doesn't belong is wrong. He's brought attention to the race. People resonate with what he says. It is their right to do that. They make the choices, not the media. And how long he lasts, I think, is definitely a concern for the GOP. They're going to have to figure out what they do when it comes to convention, because Donald Trump's going to be there.
Gentlemen, we could talk about this all day, but we have other news to get to. Hugh Hewitt, Chris, we'll see you in a minute.